Losing to the Pistons last night, 148-143, unfortunately changes everything for the Atlanta Hawks, and I am here to explain everything because, in fact, this basically puts the Hawks in a position where they have to rethink their positioning. They have to rethink how they approach this push down the stretch for the Atlanta Hawks right now. They sit in the 9th position in the Eastern Conference standing, which is a 26-31 record. Unfortunately, that's not how the Atlanta Hawks want to get this final push started. They definitely don't want to get it started that way. So I'm going to explain to you guys how the Atlanta Hawks can possibly get themselves in a better position and possibly make a run for these playoffs. But before I get into all of that, what's going on, everybody? My name is Walter Pollard, and this is Atlanta Hawks Digest, and I do appreciate everyone for joining me today because we got to definitely get into the skinny of all of it. Of course, like I said before, last night they fell to the Pistons 148-143, and yeah, I'm just going to explain how that definitely not implicates, but it definitely affects the Atlanta Hawks in so many ways than one. But before I get into all of that, I definitely want to thank everybody for hitting the like, share, and subscribe button. Thank you definitely for, just joining the page. That number at the bottom, the 16%, is constantly growing, and I definitely want to make sure that you guys are consistently growing with us because I'm telling you, this page is definitely going to go up and up and up and up and up. Now, definitely want to give a major shout out to Steve Holman. He was definitely recognized by the Atlanta Hawks last night. He has been inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame, and that's a major accolade to get. Of course, he joined the ranks of different players like Terrence Mathis. He is a former Falcon who was a wide receiver, one of my favorites, of course. But, of course, he was inducted with a group of guys like that. Leo Mazzoni, former Braves coach, he was also inducted. So you can tell that Bob Rathbun definitely joined the ranks of a lot of good men. And, again, this guy has devoted himself to covering the Atlanta Hawks for years. So I definitely would like to give a special shout out to him and give my nod to him because I'm telling you, I had a couple good conversations with him once when I covered the Atlanta Hawks during their run to the Eastern Conference Finals some years ago. So definitely good conversations with that gentleman. Got some nice teeth too. So with all that being said, man, major shouts out to him. But let's dig into this really quickly because the Atlanta Hawks right now are starting to face another losing streak, and it's quite unfortunate. Just being completely honest, this streak goes back to February 12th. We fell to the Knicks back then at that game. It was 149-148. Again, very close game. Very entertaining game. The Atlanta Hawks definitely kept it close, but a last-second shot by Jalen Brunson was definitely something that was a go-ahead shot. And, of course, that definitely made it tough for the Atlanta Hawks. They got a chance to shoot the final shot, but unfortunately it didn't go in. And then losing to the Orlando Magic is one of those floor teams. But losing to the Orlando Magic definitely put a sour taste in our mouth. Also, 114-108. Again, an opportunity to win it down the stretch, but they were able to put us away. And then last night, falling to the Detroit Pistons 148-143. How does all of this affect the Atlanta Hawks? How can all of this affect the Atlanta Hawks? And it's definitely something that we have to pay attention to. One of the things that caught my eye is definitely how close all of these games are. 148-149, 114-108, 148-143. The Atlanta Hawks are keeping these games close. They're able to fight. They do not lay down where they play against smaller competition. I've seen that. Of course, earlier in the season, I felt as though they play up to their competition when they play teams like Detroit, Cleveland, Boston, even New York at times. But they would also play down to their competition like Washington, like Chicago, lower teams in the conference. But the Atlanta Hawks, unfortunately, with this 3-game losing skid, it definitely puts them in a tough position because I want to remind you guys what Trae Young said. Trae Young said that when he was asked where does he see the team or what is the team's focus, Trae Young had came out and said it is nowhere below the playoffs. That's got to be our focus when we made these moves. He's talking about the trade, and we got these guys in. Obviously, they were from the Cavs, who were, the number one team at the time. And then you bring in Terrence Mann, who's, he hasn't even been to the playoffs. And he's basically just saying you've got winners around you. So it's like you got to win. You got to be in the playoffs. So that's our main focus. Listen, I do agree with Trae Young. I do understand where he's coming from because, yes, you definitely want to be in the playoffs. But unfortunately, with the loss last night, that makes it even more tougher for the Atlanta Hawks. Let me paint a quick picture for you. The Atlanta Hawks are 26-31, and they're the number 9 team in the Eastern Conference. Do you want the good? I'll give you the good news first. The good news is I don't think anyone's going to leapfrog the Hawks right now, because the closest team to them is the Chicago Bulls, and they're 22-25. So there's a 4-game difference between the number 9 and 10 team. So the Hawks are kind of stuck right here at the 9 position. The bad news is, with the loss to Detroit, that puts the Atlanta Hawks 5 games out of position for the sixth seed. Okay, so right now the Detroit Pistons hold that seed, 31-26, and also the Detroit Pistons hold the tiebreaker. So if it came down to it, and Detroit had a worse record, let's just say a worse record than the Atlanta Hawks, the Detroit Pistons would obviously get the nod because they have the season record, or the season series, versus the Atlanta Hawks. So again, this puts it in a very sticky situation for the Hawks. Again, they're at the number 9 position, so I feel as though their approach to this entire ordeal, this entire playoff push, has to change. Yes, in theory, it was a great idea. We wanted to make sure it was the number 6 seed, or, even better. You want to get it into the playoffs, but unfortunately, that's starting to seem like is a tough task for the Hawks right now. So you have to focus on right now. Again, number 8 and 9 seed, they're all 26-29. That's the Miami Heat. 29-30. That's the Orlando Magic. So if the Hawks are smart, I think they are. I feel as though they have to start to approach it starting tonight versus the Miami Heat, who is in the number 8 position. They have to get a win now. And if they get a win versus the Miami Heat, it helps them. Let's just say it helps them get to a better plateau. Unfortunately, the Miami Heat, they have less losses, so they'll stay at the number 8 seed if the Hawks win. That puts the Miami Heat at 26-30 and the Hawks at 27-31. So they'll still be at 29. At number 9. But if they get another win, if they can consistently start to get on a winning streak, they can chop kind of chop at it a little bit. Barring a major collapse by the Detroit Pistons, the Hawks are going to end up stuck at the number 9 position, or low. They're stuck in the play-in tournament, basically. Now, looking at the final few games of this stretch, because of course there's going to be more games, but after this they have the Miami Heat again in Miami, and that's going to be on Wednesday. But after that, they come back home to take on Oklahoma City in a city edition. So get to see the cool jerseys. But again, it doesn't get easier for the Hawks. Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Milwaukee Bucks in the next 4 games. So again, those are teams that are definitely in the top 5 of both conferences. Oklahoma City sitting at the number 1 position, I want to say, in the Western Conference. Memphis at the number 2 through 4. Yeah, I want to say 2 through 4, one of those. And then you got Milwaukee. They're sitting at the number 5 position in the Eastern Conference. So again, it doesn't get easier for the Hawks. So they have to get on the ball. They have to make sure that they are in the best position to make some moves in the playoffs. So my question to you guys is, what playoff or play-in matchup do you see the Atlanta Hawks being favored in? Which one do you deem favorable for the Atlanta Hawks? I'm not going to give my opinion. I want to see what you guys think. But I definitely feel as though they need to get in a good position, and they need to get up against a team that they know or are very familiar with, so that they can get a victory and find themselves in the playoffs. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves, because right after the play-in, you got to play up against either Boston or Cleveland, number 1 or number 2. So we definitely want the Hawks to be in tip-top shape going into that and going into these matchups. But with all that being said, my name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest, and I am out. I'll see you guys on the next side. Peace.